The offer in the grand chamber of the Galactic Concord. 1,000 species watched and waited. Floating in a space station the size of a small moon, the chamber was built to impress. Crystal walls shimmered with starlight. Transparent domes looked out into the void. Every known civilization had a seat here. And now, the attention of the galaxy was fixed on one delegate, the human envoy from Earth. He stood alone at the center platform. Dressed in a black uniform with no rank or decoration, he carried no weapons, no translator drone, just his voice. Across the hall, the Concord's high speaker, a thin, towering figure with a voice like wind through metal, addressed him. "For 5 decades we have known only conflict with your kind," the high speaker said. "But today we offer peace. Not surrender, not submission. Peace." A hushed murmur passed through the chamber. Many species had wanted war with Earth to continue. Humanity had arrived late to the stars but rose too fast, fought too fiercely, and refused to bow to any power. Their ships were smaller, but faster. Their soldiers were fewer, but smarter, and their victories, even when outnumbered, had shaken the oldest empires. Now at the edge of collapse, the conquered offered terms. Generous ones. Territory. Trade. Autonomy. All Earth had to do was accept, but the human didn't answer right away. He looked around the chamber, at the faces watching him. Some curious, some nervous, some filled with hidden rage. Then he spoke, calm and clear. "We hear your offer." Another pause. "We decline." The words were simple, but the silence that followed was heavy. Like gravity had doubled. The high speaker blinked. "You decline?" "Yes." A counselor from the Eastern Quadrant rose. "Do you understand what you're saying? What you're rejecting?" "Yes." A reptilian envoy from the core systems hissed. "We're offering peace. Earth has suffered too." The human nodded. "Yes, we suffered. We adapted." "Then why?" "Refuse?" The human looked up at the stars through the glass dome. "Because peace without justice is slavery. Because forgiveness without truth is meaningless. You do not offer peace, you offer silence. You want us to stop fighting so the galaxy can pretend it did nothing wrong." The chamber stirred. Whispers. Movement. "You invaded our first colonies," the human continued. "Said we didn't belong. Said we were too violent, too primitive." Another envoy shouted. "We tried to guide you." "You tried to rule us," the human said sharply. "And when we refused, you sent fleets, burned cities, took our people." The chamber went quiet again. The human lowered his voice. "We do not come for revenge. We do not want more war. But we will not sit at a table built on lies." He turned toward the main exit. "Your peace is not peace, it's fear in disguise, and Earth will not be part of it." Without another word, he walked away. No guard stopped him. No voices followed. The doors closed behind him. And for the first time in the long, proud history of the Concord, the leaders of the galaxy said nothing. Because deep inside, they knew the truth. Humanity did not walk away from peace. They walked away from weakness, and the galaxy was right to be afraid. Behind closed doors, the chamber remained still long after the human left. No one spoke. No one dared to. The high speaker slowly turned to the senior members of the council, his voice reduced to a whisper. "We offered them peace. They refused. What does this mean?" A short delegate from the Arxan Republic replied with a dry hiss. "It means they remember what we did, and they're not finished yet." Others shifted in their seats. The Varl Dominion representative, a species that had once led a fleet against Earth's early colonies, cleared his throat nervously. "They can't possibly mean war again, not after all the damage on both sides." But everyone had seen it, the calm in the human's voice. No anger, no threats, just quiet certainty. That was what shook them the most. Outside the conquered chamber, the human envoy walked alone through the crystalline corridors. He passed guards, officials, envoys. Some sneered, others turned away. No one stopped him. At the far end of the hall, a shuttle waited, sleek and black. A Terran pilot stood at the ramp, arms crossed. "Well?" he asked as the envoy approached. "They offered peace," the envoy said. The pilot smirked. "Of course they did. And we refused." The ramp lifted, sealing with a hiss. Inside, the small vessel hummed to life. As they lifted off from the station, Earth glowed in the distance, blue, steady, unshaken. From the cockpit, the pilot glanced back. "What now?" The envoy sat, pulling a small data crystal from his jacket. "We show the galaxy what peace really means, on our terms." Back in the Concord station, a private emergency meeting began in one of the war chambers. Leaders from 6 major species gathered around a circular display table. "We must prepare," one said. "They're planning something." "But they rejected peace." Another leaned forward. "Exactly. That means they're not afraid." One delegate finally voiced what everyone had tried to avoid. If Earth isn't afraid, then what are they? Waiting for. Silence followed, because deep down, they all knew. When humanity waits, it's not for surrender, it's for the right moment to strike, and the Conquered had just given them every reason to. Whispers in the void, in the cold shadows beyond the known trade lanes, near forgotten star systems, and broken asteroid fields. Whispers began to move. Not from governments, not from diplomats, but from soldiers, smugglers, and spies. Everyone who had ever crossed paths with humans in the dark corners of space felt it. Something was shifting. Humanity wasn't speaking to the galaxy anymore. No broadcasts, no demands, no negotiations. They had gone silent, and that silence was louder than any fleet. In an abandoned relay station on the edge of Sector 19, 2 independent traders huddled around a scrambled signal they'd intercepted, a distorted voice, fragmented coordinates, and a single phrase that froze them both. Protocol Ember Phase approved. One trader swallowed hard. "You know what that means?" The other just nodded. "It means they're not bluffing anymore." Back, near Earth, in a black site buried beneath Mars's southern pole, a room filled with holograms pulsed with quiet activity. Dozens of Earth's finest officers stood in formation as a tall woman with iron-gray eyes addressed them. "Our refusal of the Conquered offer has triggered 37 separate intelligence responses. 12 of them suggest rearmament. 3 are recommending preemptive strikes against Terran space." She paused. "We will not respond with panic. We will not launch first, but we will be ready." Behind her, a large display lit up. Tactical movement data from every major power in the Conquered, all inching closer to Terran borders, and in the center, Earth. Still and quiet. One officer stepped forward. "If they strike again," the woman turned, "then we answer the way we always have, with absolute clarity." Meanwhile, deep inside the Conquered's capital archives, a historian from a neutral system reviewed past encounters with humanity. Wars, treaties, incidents, patterns began to emerge. Earth had always tried peace first, always sent envoys, always gave warnings, but when ignored, their revenge was never loud. It was clean, swift, terrifying, and permanent. She stared at a faded file, the fall of the Sarn Dominion, a once powerful empire that had tried to enslave Earth's lunar colonies. Within 3 days they had vanished, not conquered, erased. The historian shivered. "Maybe we shouldn't have asked for peace," she whispered. "Maybe they would have stayed calm if we hadn't reminded them why they started fighting in the first place." And far from all systems, where no probes could track, an object moved. Slow, silent, unregistered by any known database. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a weapon. It was something worse. It was human, and it was watching. The price of forgotten wars. The Concord's great library orbited the dying star Telros, its glowing rings a beacon of wisdom. Here, the oldest records were kept, written by the first explorers, warriors, and peacekeepers of the stars. Archivist. Fenn strode through its silent halls, his mind troubled. He had studied 1,000 wars, 1,000 victories and defeats. But Earth didn't fit any pattern. They didn't conquer for resources. They didn't expand like parasites. And they didn't forget. Fen pulled a sealed scroll from a hidden vault, marked with an old human symbol, a broken chain over a planet. Only a few beings in the galaxy even knew it existed. Inside were records of Earth's earliest galactic war centuries ago. Back then, humans had begged for a seat at the table, offered trade, shared medicine, helped rebuild war-torn moons. Theo, Concord had laughed. They called humanity wild, undisciplined, and temporary. Then came the raids on Terran colonies. Then came the massacre of New Leora, a city of civilians wiped out by Concord ships for resisting forced relocation. The Mayom, Concord called it a containment action. Earth called it a betrayal. The retaliation was swift, targeted, brutal. But what stood out wasn't the firepower, it was the memory. Earth had marked every system involved, every commander, every ship, and they waited, years, decades, until each one was dealt with, not through armies but with surgical precision. Whole governments fell overnight. Supply lines vanished, all without a single formal war declaration. Now, centuries later, those scars were still there, just hidden behind the Concord's polished walls, and when they offered peace again now, it wasn't mercy. It was fear. Back on Earth, the silence continued. No broadcasts, no statements, only quiet coordination. In underground bunkers, veterans were. Reactivated orbital facilities received encrypted shipments. And among the stars, Terran sleeper agents awoke, not to attack, but to observe, to remind the galaxy that Earth had not forgotten. On the Concord's political channel, an emergency discussion erupted. We must force them to accept the peace terms, one shouted. Send a show of strength. Another voice, colder and older, replied, that didn't work last time? We have numbers, but they have will. And worse, they have memory. No one had an answer for that, because deep down they knew. The price of forgetting what humanity suffered was living in fear of what they might remember next. No heroes left. Only warnings. In the quiet halls of Earth's Orbital Defense Command, Commander Eli stood before a wall of black and white portraits. Each one was a face. Man, woman, elder, youth, soldiers, scientists, civilians. They weren't remembered for their ranks. They were remembered for what had been done to them. Burned in colony attacks, erased by orbital strikes, taken, tortured, or silenced when Earth was still young among the stars. Humanity had made a promise long ago, not just to fight back, but to never forget. Eli turned to the young officer beside him. You know why these photos are here? To remember them, sir. He nodded. Not to mourn. To remind. Meanwhile, above a distant mining moon, a Concorde battleship entered restricted space. The crew had orders. Test Earth's resolve, send a probe, scan. For activity, they launched a small drone toward one of Earth's outer listening posts. A simple scan. Nothing aggressive. But the drone didn't make it far. It vanished. No explosion. No trace. Just gone. Then came the message. Not in Concorde protocol. Not on official channels. Just a voice. You are being watched. We do not warn twice. The Concorde crew froze. The captain, pale, quickly reversed course. No debate. No pride. Just raw, unmistakable fear. Back on Earth, in a control chamber buried beneath Antarctica's surface, technicians logged the event. No applause, no comments. Just one update to the log. Unauthorized Concorde probe intercepted. Response, passive. Next violation, active. And elsewhere, the galaxy began to change. The Academy on Tel Renfiv stopped teaching outdated war theories. Their textbooks now included the human pattern, a section that analyzed Earth's preference for restraint before decisive action. The Drakari Syndicate, once proud slavers, quietly released all human prisoners. No explanation, no broadcast. Just silence. The Shivaran Mercenary Guild issued a private command to its fleets. Avoid Earth space, avoid human contracts, avoid provoking extinction. In conquered meetings, the most vocal voices urging strength began to grow quiet. Not because they lost courage, but because they finally understood. Earth no longer needed heroes. They had already buried them. What remained was memory and warning. And nothing in the galaxy was more dangerous than a human who remembered why they had to stop forgiving. The day the Concord stopped speaking, the Concord's Central Council was built to be eternal. Its ceiling stretched into starlight. Its floor pulsed with data streams from across 1,000 worlds. This was where diplomacy had ended wars, brokered peace, and rewritten history. But today, the chamber was quiet. Not out of respect, out of fear. The usual hum of conversation, the ritualistic introductions, the formal exchanges, they were gone. Only one item sat on the agenda screen. Terran Response Protocol. Phase unclear. A representative from the Soren League stood. We need to send envoys again, show good faith. But no one supported the idea. The last time Earth received an envoy, the envoy left without speaking. No words. Just a small data crystal returned in silence. The message on it had been short. We remember Leora. We remember the chains. We remember the laughter after the fires. No threats, no promises, just memory. And that was worse. A senior strategist from the Vok Empire finally broke the silence. Have we become so proud that we cannot see what's coming? They've made no move, someone else whispered. No fleet, no invasion. They've done nothing. And that's exactly what should terrify you, the strategist replied. Because when humans stop talking, they've already made up their minds. That same day, across Concord-controlled media, Earth's name began to vanish. Maps removed the Sol system. News anchors avoided the subject entirely. Search archives returned errors when Terran, or Earth, was typed. And it wasn't censorship, it was survival. If no one mentioned Earth, maybe they wouldn't come. Maybe they would forget. Maybe silence would protect them. Back on Earth, in the command levels of the Terran Assembly, one of the oldest officials stood before a glass window overlooking Earth's twilight side. The stars shone brightly above. The planet turned silently below. He spoke to no one. Or maybe to everyone. Let them fall quiet. Let them hide us from their stories. It changes nothing. Behind him, screens showed live feeds of rebuilt colonies, of children laughing under new skies, of ships returning home from border patrols. They want peace, he said softly, but only after we buried our dead, after we carried our pain alone. He turned away from the window. We've given them their answer, and now they must live with it. A galaxy that knows better. Decades passed. No wars touched Terran space, no fleets approached their borders, no new alliances were offered, and none were asked for. Humanity had become something else. Not a member of the galaxy, not an outsider, but a presence. A shadow in the minds of diplomats, admirals, and rulers. On the surface, Earth seemed quiet, peaceful even. Trade flourished between colonies. Technology advanced. Art returned to the stars. Children born after the war grew up never seeing a conquered ship above their skies. But beneath the surface, every station still watched, every outpost still trained. Every memory remained sharp, because Earth had learned long ago, peace was not a gift. It was something earned, defended, and if necessary, enforced with silence. In a distant Concord school, a young alien student raised a hand. Why don't we ever talk about humans anymore? He asked. The instructor, old and worn, paused for a long time before answering, because we can't afford to forget them, and we're too afraid to remember. In another sector, a pirate captain reviewed a job contract. High pay, easy cargo. But the route skimmed the edge of Terran space. He declined it immediately. No profits worth waking the ghosts, he muttered. And far across the stars, A planetary governor gave a quiet order after a border drone detected a faint Terran. Beacon. Shut it down. Wipe the data. Don't send a report. Sir? The aide asked. The governor looked out the window toward the stars. We don't speak of Earth. We just respect the silence. Back on Earth, the Terran assembly sat in quiet formation. No emergency meetings. No fear. Only readiness. Because humanity no longer needed to prove itself. Their message had already echoed through generations. We asked for peace. You gave us war. We remembered, we endured, and when you begged for peace and we walked away. Now the galaxy understood. There were no heroes left on Earth, only memory, only silence, and a warning that no one dared test again.